Some stories are so chilling, so haunting, that once you hear them, they stay with you forever. The faces you see here aren't hardened criminals in their 40s or 50s. They are teenagers, young, full of life, and yet capable of taking it away without a second thought. Their sentences are life, but the impact of their actions goes beyond prison bars. It is about shattered families, stolen futures, and unanswered questions that echo through empty homes and broken hearts. What drives a teenager who should be worrying about grades or friendships to commit the ultimate crime? This is the world you are about to step into, the world of 10 teenage killers who now have nothing ahead of them but decades behind bars. Mackenzie Shirilla. 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla wasn't just reckless behind the wheel. She turned her car into a weapon, a deliberate tool of destruction. Driving her boyfriend Dominic Russo and his friend Davin Flanagan at a shocking 100 miles per hour, she crashed straight into a commercial building with cold finality. It wasn't a tragic accident, it was murder, plotted and rehearsed days before. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture of a toxic relationship turned deadly, with threats made and a plan meticulously followed. In court, Mackenzie wept, claiming she didn't remember the crash, saying she would never have done it on purpose. But the judge was clear: no mechanical failure, no medical condition, and no excuse. Mackenzie was handed 15 years to life, her tears doing nothing to wash away the lives she stole. Aiden Fucci. Aiden Fucci was just 14 when he turned the woods into a slaughterhouse. His classmate, a 13-year-old girl, trusted him enough to walk with him into the night. She never walked out. Aiden stabbed her 114 times, a number so staggering it forces you to wonder, how does a child carry that much rage? After the killing, Aiden sat in the back of a cop car taking selfies for Snapchat, grinning as though life were a game. The courtroom saw none of that cockiness when he stood, silent and still, as the judge sentenced him to life with a possibility of review after 25 years. A child lost to cruelty, a life erased by violence, and a courtroom that could barely comprehend the horror. Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale revenge over a bad grade. That's what prosecutors said drove Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale, both just 16, to ambush their Spanish teacher, Nohema Graber, during her daily walk. Armed with a baseball bat and a chilling plan, they stalked her through a quiet park and beat her to death, dragging her body into the woods like it was garbage to be hidden. Their arrogance was captured in Snapchat messages, laughing about the last thing their teacher ever saw. Both boys pled guilty. Jeremy offered a remorseful apology, his voice trembling. Willard, more stoic, begged not to be forgotten. Their lives are now measured in decades, with parole possibilities only after 25 and 35 years, respectively. For a crime that should never have crossed a teenager's mind, Rachel Schoaf and Sheila Eddy, best friends turned murderers. 16-year-old Rachel Schoaf and Sheila Eddy decided one day that their friend Skylar Neese simply had to die. There was no dramatic fight, no earth-shattering betrayal, just the cold, casual decision that she was no longer wanted. They lured Skylar out for a midnight adventure, hid knives on their bodies, and stabbed her to death under the vast, indifferent night sky. Rachel's confession cracked the case wide open, a tearful admission of guilt so heavy it seemed to weigh down the courtroom. She apologized, her words broken by sobs, as she accepted 30 years with parole possible after 10. Sheila showed less emotion, sentenced to life with mercy parole after 15 years. 3 young lives obliterated by a friendship turned fatal. Nicholas Prosper. 18-year-old Nicholas Prosper committed a crime so unimaginable it shook an entire country. He murdered his mother and 2 siblings in cold blood, and plans found in his possession revealed he intended to carry out a mass shooting at his former school. Buying a shotgun using a forged certificate, he executed his family with chilling efficiency. His case sent shockwaves through the UK legal system, with his sentence life with a minimum of 49 years now under review, because many believe it is still too lenient. A teenager who should have been building a future chose instead to destroy everything he touched, leaving a trail of devastation no prison term could ever fully repay. Tamor McIntyre, Tay K. 16-year-old Tamor McIntyre, better known as Tay K, turned his real-life crimes into viral fame with his song The Race, recorded while he was on the run. But behind the beats and bravado was a teenager deeply entrenched in deadly violence. TK was involved in a home invasion that left a man dead, and while evading capture, he killed again. His trial exposed a grim portrait of a boy lost to the streets, glorifying his crimes even as they ruined lives. Sentenced to 55 years for his first murder and awaiting additional sentencing for the second, TK's story is one of wasted talent and glorified horror, an anthem for violence that ultimately led him to a concrete cell. Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe. In a crime that shocked the United Kingdom, 15-year-old Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe meticulously planned the brutal murder of transgender teenager Brianna Gay. Motivated by sadistic impulses and a chilling desire for infamy, they lured Brianna into a park and stabbed her to death with a brutality that defies comprehension. Both teens displayed alarming signs of dangerous fantasies before acting on them. In court, they barely reacted as the sentences were read. Jenkinson, life with a minimum of 22 years. Ratcliffe, life with a minimum of 20 years. A life extinguished for no reason other than the twisted fantasies of two disturbed young minds. Mason Sisk. Mason Sisk was just 14 when he annihilated his entire family, his parents and 3 young siblings. It was a massacre inside their Alabama home that left seasoned detectives shaken. At first, Mason feigned innocence, even participating in candlelight vigils. But the truth unraveled. Mason confessed to cold-blooded murder without remorse. Convicted and sentenced to life without parole, Mason showed no emotion as the judge described his crime as one of the most heinous he'd ever seen. A boy capable of wiping out his own bloodline with a coldness that not even time will heal. James Fairweather. Obsession with serial killers and hearing voices drove 15-year-old James Fairweather into a killing spree in Colchester, UK. His victims were strangers unlucky enough to cross his path as he wandered the streets with murder on his mind. Stabbing his victims dozens of times, James later claimed it was voices that commanded him to kill. Court psychologists saw through it. He was a teenager driven by a fascination with death and pain, sentenced to life with a minimum of 27 years. Fairweather's twisted fantasies cost 2 innocent people their lives and shattered a community's sense of safety forever. Alyssa Bustamante. 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante didn't kill out of rage, revenge, or fear. She did it out of curiosity. When she led her 9-year-old neighbor Elizabeth Olten into the woods and strangled and stabbed her to death, she later wrote in her diary about the thrill it gave her. Her chilling words revealed a complete disconnect from empathy or humanity. Initially charged with first-degree murder, she took a plea deal, but her life sentence still stands, with parole possibilities stripped away under new legislation. A child killed another child simply to see what it felt like, an act of horror that defies explanation. These are not just stories. They are grim warnings about what happens when violence finds a home inside the heart of youth. Each case is a tragic reminder that age does not shield one from accountability, and the consequences of a single night, a single act, can echo across lifetimes. The faces may be young, but the crimes are timeless in their cruelty. If you found this journey as haunting and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, share to spread awareness, and subscribe to the channel for more deep, thought-provoking stories that reveal the darkest corners of the human soul.